Everyone thought war meant swords and siege ramps. The world expected bloodshed and battering rams, but God chose a different weapon: silence. And one man had to lead an army into the most absurd battle in history. This is the story of Joshua. Joshua stands at the edge of a dead wind, the dust of Jericho stinging his lips. Behind him, the breath of 2 million souls, men, women, children, hanging on a single decision. You know the song, the one sung in bright rooms with clapping hands. But you do not know the weight of that wall. You do not know the silence before a command that sounds like suicide. The city was not a village. It was a tomb with eyes, stone teeth set in a ring of dust, a fortress built on fear, raised by hands long turned to powder. Its name meant Moon City, but no light softened its edges. Only the sun, relentless, baking the mud bricks until they cracked like old bones. 15 feet high, smooth, unclimbable. No handhold, no weakness, just a sheer face of packed earth and stone, polished by centuries of wind. The kind of wall that laughs at ladders, that mocks the man who brings no ram, no tunnel, no fire. Just flesh, and breath, and a command. He had crossed the Jordan. The waters had split, still wet on his sandals, that miracle. The priest's feet had touched dry ground where waves once roared. But water parts for a moment, walls remain. And this gate, iron-bound, sunk deep into the earth, does not care about miracles. It only knows its own strength. The text says, shut up tight, barred, sealed. No trader slipping through at dawn. No shepherd leading goats to pasture. No child darting out to play. Nothing in, nothing out. Not even a whisper. The city breathes behind stone lungs, waiting. This is not war, not as men know it. This is a standoff between faith and physics, between the shout of a trumpet and the weight of 10,000 tons of masonry. Human logic offers no path, no strategy, only death at the base of a wall that has watched empires rise and rot. Before a single step, before a single shout, the plan must come from elsewhere, not from councils, not from scouts, from a voice that speaks in the space between heartbeats, from a presence that walks in the dry grass and does not burn it. And the word he receives, oh, it is not bold, it is not clever, it is absurd. March, once a day, for 6 days, with priests, with trumpets, with the ark, wood wrapped in gold, carried on shoulders, heavy with history. No charge, no arrow fired, just footsteps, circles in the dust, the slow turn of obedience. On the 7th day, 7 times. Still no weapon, still no breach, just sound. 7 circuits, 7 silences broken by 7 blasts. A ritual that looks like surrender, that feels like mockery, that invites laughter from the walls. This is not how kingdoms fall. This is how fools die. The world measures power in iron and impact, in the crash of timber against gate, in blood on stone. But here, nothing. Just a man walking, a people following, a command that defies reason. And you, standing where he stood, what would you do? When the plan makes no sense, when the walls do not move, when the only thing louder than the trumpet is the voice inside saying, "This will fail." He steps forward, not as a warlord, not as a conqueror with blood on his blade, but as the one who carried Moses' mantle, still warm from the hands of the lawgiver. The weight is not in the staff he holds, it's in the silence between his ribs. The echo of Sinai still hums in his bones. He remembers the mountain, the smoke, the voice that split the sky. And now, this, a cliff of stone, sheer, unyielding. Below, the city clings to the earth like a scab. Above, the sun bleaches the sky white. No cloud, no breath of wind, only the dry press of heat against his neck. 6 days, that's what was said. 6 days of walking, of circling, of doing nothing but obey. The people follow. 2 million feet, dust rising in slow spirals. Each step a prayer, each breath a risk. Behind them, The ark. Wood veiled in gold, carried on shoulders slick with sweat. The poles dig into flesh. The weight is not just physical, it is presence. It is holiness. It is the unblinking eye of the unseen riding in their midst. If they falter, here, then the promise dies. The river was only the beginning. The crossing proved God could part water. But walls are made by men, and men do not fall to miracles. They fall to spears, to hunger, to time. Yet here they walk, no spears raised, no siege engines, just the hollow cry of ram's horns. 7 priests, 7 trumpets. The sound cracks the air. Then silence again. Only the shuffle of sandals, the creak of leather, the dry click of a man swallowing. Cherem. The word sits in his throat like a stone. Not conquest, judgment. The city is already dead. Only the ground doesn't know it yet. Every brick, every beam, every breath inside those walls, devoted, not to be taken, not to be spared, not even a scrap of cloth, not a single silver ring, all of it, burned, offered, erased. This is not war for gain. It is war as worship, as sacrifice, as surrender. He remembers the rumors, the smoke from Canaanite altars, the cries from the high places, the stench of ash and worse. He remembers the stories. Children passed through fire, Molech's mouth agape in stone. The gods of the land fed on innocence. And now, this city, this fortress, this ring of dust and death, it stands not just as a stronghold, but as a throne of abomination. To destroy it is not cruelty, it is cleansing, like lancing a wound. But still, the silence grinds, day after day. No taunt, no shout, just the slow turn around the wall. The Canaanites lean over the parapets, laughing, spitting, tossing rotten figs. One hurls a skull, human grinning, into the dust before the priests. The people flinch, but do not stop, do not speak. Their lips are sealed, their eyes forward, their feet moving as if pulled by strings. To the world they look mad, weak, a procession of ghosts. But they walk, because he walks. And he walks, because he remembers the tent. The night Moses called him, Joshua, son of Nun, the old man's hands trembling, gripping his arms. Be strong, be very courageous. Not for battle, but for obedience, for faith when reason drowns. That voice, it lives in him now, louder than the horns, louder than the jeers. The ban means no reward, no spoils, no glory, only risk. If the wall does not fall, then they return to the desert, empty, ashamed. The people will turn. They will say, "This man led us to die for nothing." The elders will whisper, the mothers will weep, the children will starve, all because one man claimed to hear a voice. Yet still, he walks. On the 6th day, the dust coats his beard. His throat is raw, his feet blister. The ark sways behind him. The priest's arms tremble. The horns sound, thin, desperate. The wall does not move. It does not crack. It does not breathe. It simply is. A monument to time, to power, to defiance. He looks up. The stones are baked hard. No moss. No crack wide enough for a finger. The gate, iron teeth set in timber, has not opened in weeks. No one comes out. No one goes in. The city holds its breath, waiting, mocking, daring. And he wonders, what if? What if the command was misheard? What if the silence is not faith, but folly? What if God has turned away? The thought is a knife. He cuts it off, steps forward, again and again. The sun beats down, the horns cry, the people follow. No one speaks, no one questions. They trust him because he trusts something beyond himself. The weight is not in the command, it is in the waiting, in the not knowing, in the slow erosion of certainty, in the knowledge that if this fails, it fails forever. No second chance, no retreat, no mercy, only dust. and silence, and the long walk back into oblivion. But still, he walks, because to stop would be greater terror, because to doubt now would unravel everything, because the holiness of God is not a shield, it is a fire. And he walks into it, with open eyes, with bare hands, with a heart that beats once, then again, then again. Day 1. The line forms, men with spears, bronze tips catching the first light, their shoulders squared, muscles taut beneath sun-baked skin. Sand grinds underfoot, each step a low rasp against stone. Behind them the priests, robes stiff with dust, horns cradled in arms, hollow ram's bone, curved like a crescent moon. Then, silence, a breath held. The ark emerges, carried on poles, wood wrapped in gold, no handles, no wheels, only human hands. The bearers' knuckles whiten, the weight pulls at their necks, sweat beads, then vanishes in the dry air. The procession moves, not fast, not slow, a rhythm older than war. The dunes shift, golden light spills over ridges, ripples in the sand, like waves frozen mid-crash. The city looms, stone teeth biting the horizon. No gate opens, no cry answers, only the wind and the slow, steady tread of 2 million souls walking in line. Then, the blast. A shofar tears the stillness. Not music, not warning, a cry, raw, jagged, one note, then another, uneven, like bones breaking, like a throat ripped open. 7 horns, 7 voices, 7 wounds in the air. The sound does not echo, it bends, warps the heat above the sand. A child covers her ears, a dog whimpers. The priests lower the horns, silence returns, heavier now. The wind carries the echo over the wall. Inside, a woman leans on the parapet. She hears. She remembers the spies, the rope, the promise. The scarlet cord flutters in her window, unseen, but not forgotten. They circle, once. Sand swirls behind them. The wall watches. Stone does not blink, but eyes do. From above, Canaanites lean out, laughing. One spits. Another hurls a clay pot. It shatters near the ark. No one flinches. No one turns. The priests lift the horns again. A single blast, short, final. Then, nothing. The line breaks. They return to camp. No cheer, no lament, just the shuffle of feet, the creak of leather, the dry click of a man swallowing. Days 2 through 6. The sun climbs, the same path, the same silence, the same horns, the same wall, the same feet. Blisters burst, salt crusts on skin, lips crack. The ark sways, the poles dig deeper, the bearers' backs arch like bows. The priest's arms tremble, the horns cry, each blast thinner, each silence longer. The people walk, not with hope, not with despair, with something beyond both, a kind of surrender. The city mocks, figs fly, stones, insults. One man catches a rotten date, it bursts in his palm. He does not wipe it off, he keeps walking. The dust coats beards, the sun bleaches robes, the wind carries the scent of sweat and sand and something else, expectation, though no one names it. Day 7, dawn. The sky blushes, not red, not gold, a pale trembling pink. The air is still, no wind, no birds. The camp stirs, no chatter, no prayer, just the tightening of sandals, the lifting of poles, the ark, the horns, the line forms. But today, 7 circuits, not 1. The command burns in Joshua's chest. 7, the number of fullness, of ending, of creation sealed. The first circle, the horns blow, the feet move, the wall stands. The second, the third, the sun climbs. The fourth, the fifth, the bearers stagger. The priest's breath comes in gasps. The sixth, the horns cry. The people's steps drag. Dust rises in slow spirals. The city watches, still laughing, still spitting, still alive. The seventh circuit, the sun at its peak, the air shimmers, the horns lift. Not a short blast, not a cry, a sustained note, long, shrill, desperate. The priests' faces strain, veins bulge. The sound does not stop, it builds, a wall of noise, a wave. The people's ears ring, their bones vibrate. Joshua raises his hand, the horns cease, a silence, deeper than before. Then, his voice, not loud, not soft, clear, cutting the heat. Shout, for the Lord has given you the city. They shout, not a war cry, not a cheer, a release, a roar from 2 million throats. It merges with the final trumpet blast, a single sound, sonic, physical. It hits the wall like a ram. The ground shudders. Not a tremor, not a quake. A fold in the earth, as if the sand itself recoils. The stones do not crack, they do not tumble. They fall flat. Every brick, every beam, every tower, collapsing inward, not outward, not into the ditch, but under themselves, as if the foundation simply let go. The wall vanishes, not in pieces, in surrender. The siege ramps unnecessary, the path open. Dust rises in a golden cloud, the wind catches it, swirls, the sun pierces through, and in the ruin, there, a house, on the outer wall, still standing, the scarlet cord, bright, unbroken, flapping in the breeze. Rahab's door, closed, but safe. Inside, the spies, the family, alive, unharmed. The only structure untouched in the collapse, the impossible, done. Not by iron, not by fire, not by siege, by obedience, by silence, by sound, by a people who walked when logic screamed to stop. The victory is not in the sword, not in the blood, but in the step, the breath, the trust. The wall fell, because they walked, because they blew, because they shouted, because they believed, when the world called it madness. The city is gone, the promise kept. Sunlight, blinding, liquid gold poured straight from the heavens, searing the edge of vision. Not gentle, not kind. A flood that erases shadows, that bleaches stone, that forces the eyes to squint, not from heat, but from glory. Yeshua. The name hums beneath the surface of time, not a later invention, not a coincidence. The same syllables that shaped the lips of Joshua now echo in the Gospels. One man led tribes through dust, the other walks on water. Yet the voice, steady, sovereign, is the same. He did not enter Canaan by negotiation. No treaties carved in clay, no alliances sealed with wine. Conquest, the land received by the tread of holy feet, by the command of a king whose footsteps shook the soil. So too the kingdom, not built by compromise, not won by silence, taken by authority. And there, in the field of Gilgal, the commander appears. Not a vision, not a dream. A figure, bronze armor, a blade unsheathed. The edge gleams, not for Joshua to grasp, not for human hand to wield. It points downward, held by heaven. A sign. I fight, you walk. I strike, you stand. The battle belongs to the one who walks ahead, sword drawn, not in threat, but in promise. Jericho's walls, stone, mortar, centuries of pride. They did not fall to siege engines, no battering rams, no fire, no tunneling. They collapsed because sound broke them. Not war cries, not noise, the voice of God's people released at his command, like the word that spoke light into void. So the walls of hostility, between Jew and Gentile, between heaven and earth, between sin and holiness, shatter not by law, but by declaration, by the breath of the Spirit moving through obedient lungs. 7 circuits, 7 days, 7 trumpets, not random, not ritual. A rhythm that echoes across time. The same number that seals the scrolls in Revelation, the same number that sounds the end of empires, the same number that marks divine completion. Those horns were not mere instruments, they were harbingers, each blast a crack in the sky, each silence a pause before the storm. The same trumpets that once circled a city now echo through eternity, announcing the fall of Babylon, the crumbling of thrones, the end of all that resists the Lamb. And Rahab, in the cracks of the wall, a life spared, a woman of the street, a name whispered in shame. Yet she reached out, not with strength, not with lineage, with a cord, scarlet, bright against the stone, tied not to a post, but to a promise. That thread, dyed in red, was not decoration. It was a sign, a marker, a banner of blood that said, "Here, death passes over. Here, grace enters." Just as another cord, stretched across a crossbeam, would one day mark a door not of wood, but of eternity. She lived, not because she earned it, not because she was clean, because she believed. And from her line, Gentile, broken, redeemed, came a name in the genealogy of the Messiah, proof that salvation never stayed behind sacred walls, that the blood that spared Jericho's house now flows beyond tribe, beyond border, beyond every barrier we build. The shout, not a cheer, not a war cry, a release. 2 million voices, one breath, a sound so vast it bent the air, and in that moment, foreshadowed, the voice that will one day split the sky, the shout of the archangel, the trumpet of God, the command, "Come up!" When the dead in Christ rise, it will not be by marching, not by effort, but by sound, by word, by the same voice that once brought down stone. Victory came not from the arm that swung a sword, not from the hand that held a spear, but from the presence of the King. The ark moved, not because men were strong, but because God was near. The walls fell because he walked. So now, no triumph is ours by strategy, by skill, by power, only by his nearness, only by the weight of glory moving ahead of us. The battle is already won. The walls? Already dust. We only walk because he leads. The lake, still. A mirror laid flat under the breath of dawn. Mist rises, thin veils of silver curling like smoke from a dying fire. No ripple, no break, only the slow lift of vapor softening the edges of the world. You, sitting here, boots off, toes pressing into damp earth, cool, slightly yielding, the kind of ground that holds the night's chill long after the stars fade. Walls, you know them, not stone, not mortar, but the ones behind your ribs, the ones built in silence, brick by brick, over years. Addiction, a slow leak in the dark. Fear, a hand that grips your throat when the room is empty. Relationships, fractured, words left unspoken, or worse, spoken and sharp. You've tried to storm them, with will, with schedules, with clenched teeth and white knuckles, siege engines of your own making, heavy, loud, going nowhere. But what if you stopped, just for now? What if the battle wasn't yours to win? What if the only thing required was to walk, not charge, not shout, not build, just move? One foot, then the other, in step with a voice you can't see, a rhythm you can't prove. Obedience, not as effort, as surrender. The silence, that's where it aches. When you're circling, again, same path, same prayer, same ache. No thunder, no flash, just the hush between breaths. The world calls it waste, calls it foolish, to trust an unseen hand, to keep walking when nothing falls. But the shout comes later, always, after the seventh turn, after the last note fades, after the dust settles. It comes. And it won't be because you were strong, never that. It will be because he was faithful, because the victory was already carved into the bones of time before you took the first step, before you even knew the wall existed. It's done, sealed, not pending, not conditional, finished. So rest. Let your hands open. Let the weight go. The sword isn't yours to carry. The commander holds it. You hear the hum of it in the stillness. Not a sound, a presence, a nearness, like heat from a distant fire. You don't need to strike, don't need to plan, don't need to force the ground to split. Just be where you are, faithful, present, walking. You are not the architect, not the engineer, not the one who must calculate the collapse. You are the one who walks and trusts and waits and breathes. That is enough, more than enough. The circles you walk now, they are not empty. Each step writes a line in the dust that heaven reads as worship. The walls are already trembling, not because you see it, but because he said so. They will fall, not outward, not with noise, but inward, like a sigh, like a release, like something that was never meant to stand. So drift. Let the mist wrap around you. Let the cool air fill your lungs. Let the water hold the sky without trying. There is no rush, no deadline, no ticking clock in the heart of God. You are held, not by your strength, not by your progress, but by a promise. Close your eyes. Feel the weight of your body on the earth, the slow rise of your chest, the quiet pulse at your wrist. This moment, this breath, this stillness, this is where faith lives, not in the shout, but in the silence before. The battle is not ahead, it is behind. The path is open. You just haven't seen it yet.
Walk your circles, in peace, in rest, in trust. The walls are already dust. You only need to keep stepping and breathing and believing. The dawn is here, the water glows, and you are safe, held, known. Let sleep come, like the mist, soft, unhurried, complete.